Hello there, everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/AskReddit to answer the question. Never argue with an idiot. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. What is your best real-life example of this? We're going to be going over the examples Redditors have provided for us in the comments down below. If you enjoy, like and subscribe, and maybe comment a subreddit you'd like me to go into, or just your thoughts on the video in of itself. Now, without further ado, let's get started. For a short while, I worked as a line cook at Cracker Barrel, and there was a little saloon-style door that led to the staff section, the kitchen, the bathroom, etc. There was a staff-only sign on the door, above the doors, and on the wall behind the doors at eye level. Usually, if someone from the customer side comes in, they said, "Coming in," before opening the door, so they didn't hit anyone. But of course, customers didn't know that. So when this dude opened the door and hit a waitress carrying a ton of drinks, we were reasonably upset with him. He said, "You should really put a sign up." We showed him all the signs, and he goes, "That seems a bit excessive." And yet it wasn't enough for you. It's almost like, these signs won't stop me. I can't read. You know the meme. At least I hope you know the meme. This woman paid us to service her e-bike. I've been a bicycle mechanic for the past 12 years. So she could grant it to her son, or neighbor, or whatever. I don't know, it really doesn't matter anymore anyway. So we did. We serviced it good. 2 people test it before she gets the invoice, and we notified her that the bike is ready. She comes and picks it up, and that should be that. The next day, she arrives at our shop near closing, starts with a fit saying how we didn't do a good job. So I asked her what the problem was. Apparently, she can't disengage her battery's lock anymore. This type of bike only has an electrical operated lock. I told her I was sorry to hear that, since that would basically mean the controller and driver, aka the brain of the bike, is malfunctioning. The only thing we're allowed to do is send that to the manufacturer to get it tested, possibly repaired or maybe replaced. If a replacement is needed, that's $250 and upward. She didn't like that, and well, I can't blame her for that one, because I wouldn't either. But she started blaming us. We didn't check the part. We updated the bike, which probably ruined that part. You name it. I told her the timing is terrible, but if this happens, there's nothing anyone could have done. Do note, this was a near 10-year-old part, from a time where e-bike life expectancy was around 5 years. I told her all that calmly, and she refused to believe me, then demanded to speak to someone higher up, which is funny since I'm the first manager apart from my boss and CEO. I told her to pick it up with him. My boss was on the same floor with another customer. I pointed to him and told her he'd be there shortly, and I left the shop floor. She started talking to my boss, and at some point, she lowered her voice a bit. My boss did the same, and later my boss told me she had a complaint about me. Her complaint was that I was too civil and verging on being emotionless. So I was too good at my job, apparently. I told my boss I'll explode with rage or cry my soul out next time she has a complaint with me. Oh no! He's not being emotional enough! Please fire him! Please! That's how I picture that lady. I used to argue a lot with my sister when we were kids. She would do this thing where she would say something, and I would reference back to it literally a minute or two later to prove a point, and she would say, "I never said that," or "That's not what I said." It's absolutely impossible to argue with someone who will just deny having said things that could hurt their argument. Also, trying to change the course of an argument if they feel like they are losing. A coworker once called me an idiot for doing something incorrectly, when I was actually doing it the right way. When I politely explained to them that the way they suggested doing the task didn't actually work, they started asking, "Why are you getting so angry? I was just trying to help," and so on. Now we're arguing about whether I'm angry or not, instead of the right way to complete the task. Oh, that just sounds so frustrating. Was arguing with this dude about something math related. He didn't know how to read a study which involved statistics. Claimed he was in multiple AP math classes. Tried saying I probably didn't even know basic integration. Gave me a common integration problem. He wrote it but forgot the minus sign, making it unsolvable. I pointed it out and he edited the comment to make it correct. I told him that some people can see when you edit comments. He claimed he just capitalized the letter. So on and on and on. And we got a comment below that saying, "Man, my brother-in-law, he was such an a-hole." Somewhere on the 4th of July. Speaking of which, my birthday is on the 4th of July this year. Like the video and subscribe for birthday present, maybe. Anyway, we got to arguing about sets. I must have made a random joke or something, but I said something about an empty set, and he insisted that doesn't exist. A set can't be empty. And I was like, the heck it can't be. There's like a term for it, and a special symbol and everything. He had been in the Swedish military and was mall security. Literally the only two highlights of his life. And I was in the 3rd year of my college math courses. The argument went for about 30 minutes, and I kept trying to drop it, and he kept making snide comments about empty sets not existing. But I got the last laugh, since he's an asshole, but he sure as heck isn't my brother-in-law anymore. Not because of math. My sister finally saw what an asshole he was. A lot of these details will make it clear to you that my brother-in-law, this is about him. So since this is having a little bit of legs, and if he finds this...
Fuck you, Robert! You're a shitty person, and I'm glad karma's emptying its set on you.
Ooh, boy. That's a spicy hot take. Oh, we got a good one right here. The day before Biden's inauguration, a coworker told me the military would execute him live on stage, and Trump would walk out to be named president again. When I laughed and said there's literally no chance of that happening, he said,
"Dude, what do you know? You work in a warehouse in nowhere. You don't know shit."
And he said that ignoring the very fact he's my coworker in this same exact store. Can we just take a minute to appreciate how absolutely unhinged his coworker is? Like, if that was grounds for firing, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be able to hold a job. Oh my god. My brother-in-law loves to have debates, where he just wants to hear himself talk to make himself feel smarter. His arguments include, "I haven't heard of that before, so it must not be true," and pulling in argument points from YouTube videos on the topic because he doesn't read. Why would I when I can get the info faster from a video? He sprays paints as his career and has never been to college, but took calculus in high school, and that's his proof he's smarter than everyone else. When it's brought up, all he says is, "Oh yeah, I remember calculus. It's easy." What is it about, you ask?
You know, calculus. Easy stuff.
I stopped engaging him on his debates when he just claimed everything was a government job, and everything was fake news, didn't see it on YouTube. Not my story, but once my friend was having a friendly debate with another friend about how sometimes people just don't have a choice, in the context of they can't just choose to live a frivolous life, because of family background, etc. Friend A proceeds to say, "What about starving children born in Africa? It's not like they had a choice." To which friend B answered, "Who asked them to be born in Africa? Just don't be born there." Oh my god. Like, what? I don't get to choose where I'm born? What the hell? Once worked with a guy who, by his own admission, got his rocks off by picking fights. He'd start an argument over the smallest thing. If you said it was white, he'd say it was black, just to try and start something. The one that always stood out for me was the weather app competition. One day he asked me what temperature it was, so I read it off my weather app. He got all offended, because he said his weather app said it was a couple degrees warmer. So he decides we're going to have a weather app competition. He was going to chart what our app said the temperatures was, and at the end of the week, whichever one was closest to that day's high would be the winner, and the loser would have to start using the winner's app. To which I said, "What in the world is your goddamn problem?" So yeah, for the first few days, he'd make a big performance about marching into my office, recording the temperature off my app, jotting down some notes, and walking off. This started off on Monday. He gave up after Wednesday, either because I was winning or he was disappointed because, despite his best efforts, I just did not give a flying frick about weather apps. Or maybe the boss told him to stop because I filed a complaint that this was bordering on harassment. I dunno. It could totally be harassment. And Mr. Boss, you'll suffer for it. I was listening to a podcast once, and the host articulated something profound in a very well stated way. I will never argue with a flat earther or an anti-vaxxer or any of these people. The reason is because these people have made it into their whole identity. They are prepared to address any possible argument I could come up with. And because I care about facts and truth, and they do not, my only possible response would be, I'll have to look into that. I don't know off the top of my head. It doesn't matter that the response is incorrect or based on faulty research that has been rejected by the scientific community or whatever. By the time I discover that, they'll be long gone and talking about how they won another debate. This is it in a nutshell. If you argue about an issue with someone who has made that one issue into the core of their persona, you will lose unless you are someone who has made arguing against that issue also into the core of your persona. Of course, I know that Andrew Wakefield is a liar and a scammer. And of course I know that Apollo astronauts placed retro reflectors on the moon, which can be used to prove that they went there, and that their photos of the spherical Earth are real, because I've done enough research to convince myself. But have I done enough research to convince someone who refuses to be convinced? And someone who has also done that research and come up with plausible sounding nonsense to counter each of these arguments? Why would I waste my life doing this? I had a coworker who was super into Ancient Aliens and Graham Hancock and young Earth creationism nonsense. And I was in grad school studying archaeology at the time. He was always trying to convince me that some dinosaur footprint was proof that humans and dinosaurs coexisted, or that some rock concretion somewhere was actually proof that fossilization occurs over hundreds of years, instead of millions. And our dates for everything are wrong. Never mind that paleontology and archaeology are different. Or thou some carving somewhere is proof that humans had help from angels teaching them how to build monuments. I wouldn't always know what to say in response because I had to spend all of my time studying real papers from real archaeologists that related to my research. and I couldn't spend all my time reading crank conspiracy theories, so I wasn't up to date on how to debunk all of the minutiae of whatever nonsense he had heard on YouTube this week. It was maddening. Like, I knew that whatever he was coming to me with was going to be false because who he was as a person. But all I knew about it was what he explained to me, half remembered. Sometimes I would waste my lunch break looking this stuff up, just so he would stop pestering me about it. And it rarely ever worked. Dude legitimately spent an entire shift trying to get me to believe that humans and dinosaurs coexisted, despite me having pretty good background in human evolution.
But evolution isn't real, so whatever.
Just going to elaborate, I believe in evolution. That was just part of the text of this story. I am not a flat earther. Don't worry about it. Oh, God. And that's the end of today's video. Remember to check me out at the links in the description below to watch my Reddit Stories playlist. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your thoughts down below. Now, I will see you all next time.